Missed you Saturday, man. You didn't open up. You normally open up. Come on, man. Come on.
I got bogged down in the press box.
That's all right.
All right, here with Tony Elliott, y'all ask away.
Another normal week.
Just another normal week?
Yeah.
Yes and no. It's my birthday week, so that's a little different. Birthday's on Friday, but this is a week and a season in its own. It's one of the goals that we have on the board. So South Carolina game takes on a life of its own for this week, and then the schedule's a little bit different because you have the holiday, you have Thanksgiving. So we'll practice a little bit earlier on Thursday than normal. Give the guys an opportunity to visit with some family and friends, and then come back and on Friday morning and reset and hit the road. But in terms of the approach is the same. In terms of Monday, Tuesday, what our plan to win is, but everybody knows kind of what's at stake with this one. We understand that this game right here is 365 days. You might be in the store and not many people are going to come up to you and say, "Hey, man, you lost that game to Pitt, but you lose that game to South Carolina, people gonna remind you every single day." So the guys will, by the end of the week, they'll fully know, and it's interesting too because we got a lot of guys that haven't played South Carolina. We didn't get to play them last year, so there's a bunch of guys that haven't experienced the rivalry yet. So, and then the guys who did the year before, it was in a pandemic. So going down to Williams-Brice, at 7:30 at night, they're not going to be too kind to us.
How much did you guys miss this game last year?
You as a former player, being from the state of South Carolina, knowing the impact that it has on each local community, from an economic standpoint, and then just from a pride standpoint, you missed it. You missed it. I was good in my household because my sister went there, and so I'm still to the good, and I'm trying to stay to the positive in those conversations. So she's gonna like me. Well, the only day she'll like me this week is my birthday, actually.
Tony, you've been involved in a lot of these as a player and coach. When you think about this rivalry, are there a few moments that kind of pop up right away?
I think the first memory that I have is when I was a young player on the team, and Kyle Young was a senior, and he got up and spoke about what it meant, and man, that just captured me. Obviously, being in state, you grow up around it, but you don't really fully understand it until you're in it, and just to hear his passion and the way that he talked about it, it stuck with me forever, and that's something that I'll never forget. I remember my junior year spraining my ankle in that game, and Danny Poole telling me I can't go back in, and man, I'm over on the side, I'm crying, I got tears, running down my eyes, and then I remember the 63-17, and just the joy of seeing, Chancey Stuckey get in and play in that game. And then Derek Hamilton, my best friend, had a really, really good game. Ben Hall had a good game. And, that was my last go round. So, and then I remember the sophomore year when we went down there and we didn't get it done. So there's a lot of moments that you remember.
You mentioned a lot of guys haven't played. DJ's been here now for 2 years.
Right.
Never played.
Right.
How do you get these guys ready? 4 years ago it was bottles and batteries and things being thrown from the stands and pre. How do you get these guys ready for what they're going to see Saturday?
Right. So I know we have some virtual reality stuff that we video and film from opposing stadiums, just to get him an idea of what it looks like in Williams-Brice. So he'll have access to that. Coach do a good job throughout the course of the week, just really, really visually, creating the mindset and then also the environment that these guys are going to walk into. Out here on the practice field, obviously we got to recreate the noise just so they get ready for the noise. But with all that being said, it's still going to be a little bit tough to completely replicate that. But we'll do the best thing we can to have all these guys ready who haven't been down there for the battle.
Do you have a memory of maybe the greatest environment down there that you, or something that you remember in that stadium?
Man, there's some ones in that stadium, man. I've been on the other side. I remember coming back in 2011. There's not a lot of people in the building that have been on the other side. I think I was on the other side for 11, 12, 13, for 3 years. And there were some moments down there. I think I remember. I think we had a double pass that we threw for an interception. To Sammy, and was it Humphreys throwing to Sammy or Sammy throwing to Humphreys? Sammy to Humphreys, yeah, we threw an interception right there. That place erupted, and man, they were really, really good on defense that year. So, yeah, they're gonna have a good. That's one thing that you got to give them credit. Now, they're fans. They show up and they support and they create a good environment. So it's gonna be a fun game.
Tony, this team obviously has created a lot of momentum the way it's played recently.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of an odd week because while you still have a chance at the ACC title, you'll know by game time whether you guys are playing for a title or not, right? But how do you address that this week with these guys? Do you say don't worry about things we can't control, or this is our job, or?
Basically, we've done everything that we could in the ACC. 6-2, and we're we've done that's out of our control now, and we're playing for a championship. We're putting on the orange breeches, and we're playing for the state championship, and that's a goal on our goal board. So it's a goal in itself. So there will be no discussion about what's going to happen the following week. And we have other things on the table. We got a streak of 10-win seasons. And right now, South Carolina's in our way. So we got a ton of motivation for this game to not be thinking about what's next. We've done everything we can, and now we need to focus on taking care of the state championship.
So you tell them don't worry about NC State and North Carolina or Wake Forest, Boston College. Don't worry about those games at all.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. I mean, what matters is going to Williams-Brice and winning that game. We understand the magnitude of that game, and then whatever happens, happens. And so we control what we control and put ourselves in this position. And you don't want to have ill will towards anybody. Let it play out the way it plays out. But we're focusing on South Carolina, especially that we got a streak going. We didn't get to play them last year. They're coming off a big win. They got some momentum, so it's gonna be a good battle. And we got a bunch of guys, as I said earlier, that haven't been part of this rivalry, and we got to get them to understand the magnitude of it. It may not get the publicity nationally, but I think everybody in this crowd here understands what it means for both schools and for the state of South Carolina.
Tony, with the offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like that group played its best game.
Yeah.
Maybe the most healthy it's been in a while now. What did you see from that?
I think the guys just finally. I've been telling them all year is, man, you're on the doorstep. Just, man, bust through the door and go get what's yours. And all it takes is just letting loose, communicating, and playing free. And I thought that Rayburn, at guard played his best game. I think that was the best I've seen him use his hands and physical. Obviously, some plays that he'd like to have back, but it's good to get Putnam back in there. The tackles have been playing, solid for the most part. It's been the interior, and with the structure, I think the structure is better suited for Trotter at center, with that 4 down front. So it was just good for those guys to come out, and we knew that we were going to have to be ready for whatever, whether they were going to twist and stunt and move around, or if they wanted to get vertical push on us. I thought the plan that the staff put together was really, really good. And once we were able to start executing, then the staff, as a staff, we were able to help them kind of keep the defense off balance because we were able to to get to some things that could help.
Dabo was saying he challenged the staff last week to go coach their best
Yeah.
game. What did that look like, and how do you feel like you guys responded?
So I'm gonna let y'all picture what that looked like from Coach. Y'all can imagine. But no, he coaches. Man, he's very passionate, very intense. Honest, tells you the truth. And it was just a lot of that. Just a big challenge that we got to go. The game comes down to coaching when you're talking about us versus Wake Forest, because on paper, it shouldn't be a contest. When you start looking at the rankings or the recruiting rankings for the schools. So it's really on us to get our guys to play better than their guys. And that's, physically, mentally, have the right energy, the right emotion, channel the emotions the right way. So that's kind of what the challenge was this week for us as coaches. And that's a challenge every week, but in particular in this game, when you just put it on the table and said, what's it going to take to win? He felt like it was the coaches doing our best job of helping our players.
What's the season been like for Coach Caldwell?
For Coach Caldwell, it's he's been in the business for a long time. So he's been through it. He's actually turned into the coach for all of us young guys on how to deal with adversity. But it's been, man, he's had the same energy, he's always had, and the same tenacity, coaching those guys hard. man, unbelievable what he's been able to do just with the combinations and week to week, not knowing who's up, who's down, getting guys ready. So I haven't seen any slowdown in Coach Caldwell, and he's been a rock in that room, keeping everybody encouraged, because you look at all the adversity around his room, all the scrutiny from outside the program because of some of the things that he can't control within his position group, and he just comes to work every single day with a good attitude and comes out on the practice field with a ton of energy. So that's been I'm very appreciative of how he's handled this year, and it's given me strength to continue to push through the tough times.
Go and get a game ball. I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
But he got a game ball Saturday.
He did.
Oh, really?
He did.
Is that very often for coaches?
Not very often for coaches, but you're talking about a top 10 game with a lot on the line. We knew we were playing for the streak of home wins, 5 years in a row, and then send the seniors out and to go out and rush for 330 something yards and no sacks and solid protection all day, and really thought that they played very physical and controlled the line of scrimmage with a different combination than what we've had in the past. Very deserving, because that group right there was challenged the most, the coaches and then the offensive line, because you got to win in the trenches, and very deserving of that.
Going back to what Coach Swinney said to you, coach, your best game.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, the continuity of the staff has been a big talking point for years.
Correct.
But when you look at it,
Yep.
C.J. Spiller knew, Tyler Grisham knew, you're in a new spot.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Bates, a couple of years on Ansky Hall.
Yeah.
There actually are some faces that 5 years ago weren't in these spots. Do you think that was a necessary thing? Is it good for the health of the program, for the coach to do that?
For a coach to challenge us,
Yeah.
I think that there's guys that are learning every single day, and I'm really proud of Grisham and CJ and their growth this year, and those guys have done a tremendous job. I mean, you talk about the offensive line, but look what Grish has had to do every week too. Man, he's got guys up and down and trying to rotate guys through 3 spots, and we don't know who's available, but he just continues to to find a way to get those guys to improve, and what he's doing with those freshmen is unbelievable. But yeah, definitely necessary for those guys, and then also too build confidence. Build confidence in that these guys need us, and with the youth, especially with the youth on the offensive side of the ball, they need our leadership at certain times, and we got to foster and grow their leadership. But yeah, I think it's big for him to challenge us as coaches to make sure that we coach our best game, and he does it every single week. But it was more intentional this past week to make sure that we understood, and a lot of it is too. Coach is great at always channeling our focus in a certain direction. The message and he's got an unbelievable feel for what that message needs to be. And I think that last week it was spot on that, hey, the players are going to play. Now, coaches, let's make sure that we help them. And there's been some games in the past where we may not have helped them, the best that we could. And could be something simple as, not making the right substitution at the right time. You get caught up in the course of the game, and you want to get a guy in for a certain play, and maybe you don't get that guy in for a certain play, or you have a certain amount of snaps that you want to get for this guy. So just being fully locked in to the totality of the game and the plan, and go and execute it.
Tony, what have you seen out of South Carolina's defense? Probably a bunch of guys, or some guys, that you guys tried to recruit for.
Yeah, we did. We did recruit several of the guys. I think the back end is a little different than what you've seen in the past. I think they lost. They had an exodus of some really good players, especially their 2 corners. And then I think they had some other guys maybe leave in the secondary. So they got a lot of, transfer, guys in the secondary that are new. I know RJ. I tried to recruit him. Actually, I thought he was a running back, but he's turned out to have a great career as a safety down there. The linebackers are athletic brads from right down the road here. We all know Deuce Staley's son there at Mike Backer, Birch, and Pickens. We went hard after those guys. So there's some familiar faces. Now what I think about their defense, I think their strength is their defensive line. They got wouldn't say two. They got one big and one medium that plays like a big. You know, number was it 99. You know, he's not heavy, but he plays, you know, really big, really physical. So they can stop the run with their six, and then they can play man coverage on the back end. But the strength is their front. Therefore, they don't have to bring a ton of pressure. And then they're good enough on the back end, you know, to roll coverages and play combo coverages, and then also just, you know, lock you up and play man coverage. And you know, they've been really, really good. I think top 15 in the country in pass defense. So that's going to be a good challenge for us. Where they've given up some yards is in the run game. So hopefully we can, you know, take advantage of that. But you know, we're going to have to play our best game.
Do you kind of take more from what they've accomplished against in games like Florida and Auburn as opposed to Tennessee and, you know, Texas A&M?
Now we're going to look at all the games just to see and get a feel for what their temperament was, what their plan was, you know, how they're playing. And again, you know, some of the early games, you know, new coaching staff, you know, getting used to everything. Then you got a bunch of guys that are new on the back end, just kind of working through those kinks. But now as you watch them down the stretch, they're playing with a lot more confidence. You know, Auburn's got a big offensive line. You know, they were able to have a little bit of success with some things schematically there. So we'll look at all the games and just kind of see what formations, personnel groupings fit. Then we'll put our plan together and have the guys ready to go play at 7:30.
I guess in the last 4 or 5 weeks, you've accentuated different things on offense with some different tweaks. Like last week, more of an outside running game, incorporate more of the tight ends as well. How hard is it to adapt to what you have while also being basic enough where they can still understand sort of on the fly each week?
Right. You know, I think once the guys took on the mindset of we're going to embrace the adversity, you know, and not ask why is it happening, I felt like we were able to take a step forward in terms of being able to be a little bit more multiple, you know, but then also at the same time, you know, those guys could absorb a little bit more, you know, we could do a little bit more with those guys. And then, you know, each week we got to figure out, okay, defensively, what's their philosophy, what's their structure, and then what gives us the best chance based off of the personnel and the scheme, you know, that we have. So, you know, the outside zone was working. We knew that versus Wake Forest, they do so much twisting on the interior and they run their linebackers through the gaps really, really fast that they're going to gap you out on your inside zone stuff. So the best thing is to get them going sideways and then try to equalize the numbers by creating some type of option principle in there, whether it's an end or an interior guy. And then we saw a couple things, you know, where if we can get the ball in space. And that's why you saw a lot of the quick pitches and just get the ball in Shipley and Kobe's hand with a couple of lead blockers. Then you saw some 12 personnel, you know, where you can kind of maybe get them to match your personnel and then see if you can get a favorable matchup with your tight ends. And then just from a depth standpoint, you know, you go into the game, you lose EJ, and, you know, now you got, you know, just 3 scholarship, you know, wideouts. And so, you know, the big boys had to come in and try to compensate a little bit for what we didn't have maybe in the passing game with some of the depth at receiver. So, you know, the good thing is the guys are in a good place. You know, their confidence is up where it needs to be, to where we can be a little bit more multiple while still fitting it into, you know, terminology that they're comfortable with to just give us the best chance.
When was that point where they started to make that?
You know, I think after the Pitt game, you know, the guys, you know, after the Pitt game they knew that okay, we're good enough to go get it done. We just got to go make the plays, and we can't say, oh well, this is what's going to happen all season. They figured it out there. I think going into that game, the confidence was starting to rise, and then after that game, I felt like the guys, you know, they knew that they were good enough, and we just got to go to work, and everybody's got to accept the responsibility for preparing to the best of their ability, and it'll come together at some point. And there's been moments, you know, since then. It was just this past game is when kind of everything was able to come together.
With the Joe, I guess, where is he going from a guy that you seem like y'all were really excited about?
Yeah.
That he's kind of buried right now?
You know, I think a Joe, you know, Joe's biggest thing is just being consistent with the details. I think that, you know, he's a guy that's always been able to get away with his talent. You know, being a very, very talented guy, but it's very, very detailed. And then, you know, you got to be able to play multiple positions. You know, and I think when you look at Bo, Bo came in, ahead of Joe, and we knew that. We knew Joe was going to be a developmental guy, and if you wish you had the other guys to be able to kind of take the necessary time for his development, but we had to accelerate it a little bit, and now just backing it off just a little bit to kind of get him comfortable with where we pushed him to, and once he's there, then we can push him a little bit more.
I thought he was a tight end coach.
Yep.
Take a look at Davis, Sage, and Brenningsville. Take a look at just those three guys, because they some ones that are obviously the majority of the plays. How pleasing is it to you as a tight end coach to see them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is Davis. We knew what we had in Davis, and just what I'm excited about with Davis is he's coming out of his shell a little bit as a leader. He's becoming more vocal, and I think because of that, he's becoming more consistent on the field as well. Because it's all tied together. When you have that confidence to stand in front of your teammates and challenge them, then that gives you the motivation to go on the field and make sure that you can demand that level of excellence because you're giving it. And then Sage, Sage is a guy that's been a pleasant surprise because you didn't know kind of what he could do based off of last year, but he's physical at the point of attack. He can really run. He's developing from a receiver standpoint. And then Brenningsville has it all. He just needs experience. So there's going to be some good coaching in the meeting room today because there were a couple things in the game. We made some plays, and I thought we did a good job in the run game. But there's some things that we got to clean up. So, and the great thing about all three of those guys, and even Luke and Jay Lay, man, they're very, very humble. They want to get better. They're workers, man. They come to practice and they know how to practice. They know that you got to go game speed in practice to be able to play, fast on Saturdays. So, man, it's a fun group, and they all embrace the competition too. They all want to go every single rep because they know that in a healthy way, if they don't go, then their brother's going to get that rep, and that's an opportunity for separation.
I thought that for Shipley and for Kobe, their best game, rushing yards aside,
Yep.
didn't seem to be much hesitation, not a lot of thinking, just kind of reacting. Kobe set up blocks really
Yep.
well. Best effort, and do you see it starting to come together for those two?
Oh yeah, it was good to be able to get those guys a week where they can kind of heal up and be fresh. But I thought they didn't miss a beat. That's one thing for Shipley. Shipley is a north-south guy, but I thought he did a really good job on his decision making and his cuts going east and west. He found the cuts, and Kobe as well. The one that I liked the most was going towards the west end zone where he split the tackle and the guard. Right, they were in a bare front. He split the tackle on the guard. Now he should have kept running. If he would have kept running, he probably would have had 200 yards rushing. But he said he saw the corner and he stopped. But that just shows me that he's trusting it because there was a little bit of trash right there, and he ran through the trash. So pleased with both of them. I thought they were solid in pass protection. There was one that Wake disguised really good that you wouldn't expect a freshman to pick up, and he didn't get home. But that'll be something for us to coach Shipley on. So pleased with where those guys are, and Shipley, in particular, he's really starting to become more vocal. As a leader, and that's something that we've challenged him, and he's embracing it, and it's helping us.
I saw him barking out on the field.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Oh man, he's a competitor now. He's a competitor. He loves to compete. He loves to compete.
There was one down there when it looked like maybe the play didn't come in when he thought it should come in. And he was, but the older guys, are they okay with that as long
Yeah.
as it's genuine?
Oh yeah. And when you look at what Shipley does day in and day out, how he performs academically, his character, and they know that if they go to challenge him, he's going to challenge them right back, and they better be ready because he can accept the challenge, and he can also bring the challenge to you. So yeah, they respect the heck out of Shipley.
You mentioned the cutbacks.
Yep.
Is his feel for that extraordinary?
It's getting better. It's really good. It took Travis a little while to figure that out, but he's taken to it. And again, the difference is, he's a student of the game. He'll text me at night, just randomly text me, "Hey coach, on this particular play, the left tackle was supposed to do this, correct." And so he'll be texting me, at night asking questions, and I'm sure he's doing the same thing with CJ at night. So he puts the effort in, which I think allows him to be able to kind of accelerate that growth process, because you saw before early in the season, he wasn't making those cuts, and then now he's seeing it. He's going 1 to 2 on the outside zone, because the outside zone's it's a double read. You got 2 reads on that before you make your cut, and then you got 5 steps to make your you got 3 steps to make your read, 5 steps to make your cut. So that's different terminology and language than in high school, like where they hand you the ball and say, hey, run right there, and just run fast.
Kingsley number 1 for them. That's what he sees.
Man, he's a athletic, great energy. Plays hard. He does a lot. He can beat you with speed, and he can turn it into power when he needs to. He looks like he's the energy leader, on that defense. So we're excited about the challenge, and it looks like they play him mostly to the boundaries. So both tackles will have to go to work on him. He's a guy that we got to be aware of where he is and how he's playing. The whole game.
Tony, you mentioned Travis. Have you heard from him about that Bayou yet?
Yeah, we text. Matter of fact, you don't get much out of Travis. I love Travis to death, and we have an unbelievable relationship. But Travis texts me when he wants to text me. And I don't mind that. But I just randomly got a text before the game, and he said, "Man, tell all the guys that there's nothing like running down the hill on Saturdays." And I thought that was pretty cool. So I shared it with the group before the game, before we went out, and then after the game, I texted him and I said, "Man, we finally got to fire your play." And he said, "Yeah, I was wishing y'all." He said, "I wish y'all would have let me do it, but hey, coach, it's 1 for 1." So he was good with it. He was good.
Y'all teach Shipley to do the basketball talk?
Yeah, that's kind of how Coach Sweeney likes to end the game out there in noon basketball time, noon hoops out there. That's kind of his patent little runner. So I let Coach kind of focus on that, and I was just making sure that everybody up front knew how he wanted it blocked. And honestly, we've done a similar play where we've direct snapped and ran the ball. Man, we hadn't had an alley as clean as that when we ran the ball. So it was they did a good job. Rook and Big Miles, they did a good job, and then Shipley, and he put it up. We want to try to get a little bit further in the back of the end zone, but it was actually pretty good because the guy was holding on to Davis, and how Davis made the catch, is unbelievable. But it's just a cool moment for those guys.
Tony, you mentioned recruiting RJ as a running back, obviously to South Carolina, not plays defense. I guess, what did you see from him that kind of made you want to take him as a running back, and then that recruiting process?
Yeah, so he was a quarterback down in Charleston. Played option quarterback. So you knew that he had a feel for making plays with the ball, in his hands, and that was where we were looking for a running back. And then when I went down there and spent some time with him and talked to him and his mom and the coach, unbelievable character kid, very, very humble. So I just felt like I saw something there watching him practice and run around that made me believe that he could play running back, a lot like I felt Tramel Terry could have been a running back, and he ends up playing running back at Jacksonville State. But RJ, he decided he wanted to go play in the secondary, and respect that, and the decision came a little bit later in the process too, from a running back standpoint. I'm trying to think of which class that was. I can't remember which class it was. We might have been looking for a running back a little bit later. But very, 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 very good kid, and I enjoyed getting to know him, and hopefully I'll have a chance to see him and just tell him how proud I am of him.
I think it was 18.
Might have been 18. Yep. That's the year after Travis.
I think the year after Travis.
The year after Travis. All right, and then we signed Lindsay that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been Lindsay. Yeah, because Lindsay, that process was we went after Zamir and told Lindsay he was the next guy up, and then Zamir went to Georgia, and then we were kind of just checking all the boxes, and then that's when I went back down and got involved with RJ. Mm-hmm.
Anything for Coach from Zoom?
Hey Tony, this is James from Charleston. How hard has this season been on you, and how has it made you improve as a coach?
I think the first couple weeks, was very difficult, just because of the initial onslaught of the adversity. But once I got through the first couple weeks and just reassessed, myself, my perspective, it's actually been a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun seeing these guys grow and develop, and then also the challenge to myself to make sure that I have the right mindset every single day to help these young men from just from an adversity standpoint and a perseverance standpoint. And for me personally, it's just kind of put, things back in perspective. That at the end of the day, the reason why we coach is to help young people. And help them grow and develop, and the winning is a byproduct. And I think one of the hardest things in life is managing success. I think when you're chasing success, you can keep your blinders on and stay focused. But once you've had success, you got to find ways to block out the noise, to put your blinders back on, so that you can stay focused on what really matters. So for me as a coach, it's just kind of it's reinvigorated and revived my passion for the essence of why I coach, which is the young people. Obviously, this is something that I have to do. This is a piece of it. There's a lot of responsibilities that I'm responsible for that are outside of the player, but it just really helped me to refocus on what's important, and that's helping young people grow through the game of football.
Hey Tony, this is Gavin Oliver with the Clemson Insider. Is there any update you can give us on Ngata, how he's doing, and his status for this week?
We're hopeful, but we won't know until we get out here today and see what the trainers say. So we're hopeful for him, hopeful for EJ, but then again, we won't know probably till later this week.
All right, thank you, Coach. Everybody will stand by. Tyler Davis will be joining us
All right.
momentarily.